on transforming wins into LinkedIn authority. So, we all know that LinkedIn is a powerful platform to build credibility, but many founders miss opportunities to maximize its unique tools and features to see tangible ROI. So, good news is today you're going to walk away knowing how to maximize your PR wins, which is huge. As the PR manager, I'm like all for this. Build your LinkedIn leadership and grow your brand through credible content and connections. So, Molly is our strategist and viral content creator who scaled her first online business to multiple six figures through the power of online writing. So her strategies consistently help her clients attract business, generate quality prospects, and position themselves as leaders. So we're really grateful to have you, Molly, and to learn from you. So thank you for your time and investing in our collective here. And so with that, I will handle it over to you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Brooke. Let me get this all queued up. Firstly, thank you all for spending your lunchtime slash early morning afternoon with me. Super excited to get into this. I know this group in particular is big on PR and online visibility, so we're going to talk about how to amplify that even more, and specifically on the platform of LinkedIn. So first thing I want to say is there's so much content here. I could literally teach a workshop on each of the three topics we're going to get into. So don't worry, it's recorded. I think it's maybe even being transcribed. I'll also make sure the team has a copy of these slides as well. So do your best to stay present, filter this through your own business, take in as much as you can. And obviously I'm in the community, so we can always chat and keep in touch after that. But let me quickly go through the agenda, a little bit more about me, and then we'll get into it. So we're going to talk about content. Content is one piece of LinkedIn: posting, publishing, sharing your thoughts, telling your story. That's one piece of it. So we're going to talk about that first. Then we're going to talk about how to leverage relationships. You all are, what I would assume, relationship minded, community minded. You're in this amazing group. So we're going to talk about how to use those to your benefit to make your content more effective. And then lastly, we're going to talk about how to actually engage with your own audience to get feedback, to move people closer along in your funnel, and do your own prospecting using other tools of LinkedIn. So we're going to talk about that. But a real quick checkpoint, let's just make sure we're all kind of in the right place. And if not, you can certainly, drop off or stick around to see what we teach anyway. But you're in the right place if you've received press, if you're interested in receiving press, media features, and you're not sure how to maintain that momentum or use that momentum to keep building your brand, specifically using LinkedIn. You're also in the right place if you want to grow an audience that knows you for your expertise, that, you are speaking about specific topics that are building your own online reputation. And then you're also in the right place. This is a really good checkpoint, is if your decision maker is on LinkedIn and looking for partners or looking for services like you. I will say I talked to a lot of different founders, and LinkedIn is not always the best place to be showing up. There's some brands that I'm like, you know what, you might be better off on a video platform or, working on partnerships other places. So just want to be transparent. You might at the end of this workshop be like, you know what, LinkedIn might not be for me. So I'd rather you really be thoughtful about that. And in most cases, if you're B2B, a service provider, or have any sort of higher ticket or again, service product that you're offering, LinkedIn can make a lot of sense. So let's keep going. So a little bit more about me. This is a really fun workshop for me because actually PR is what kickstarted my career, believe it or not. So I used to work in tech. I got super burnt out. And when I was recovering and on my career sabbatical, I started a blog really kind of for fun and for my own healing. And about 6 months in, one of those blogs unexpectedly went viral. From there, I started taking my writing more seriously. I started submitting to publications and working with editors. And about 9 months after that, NBC reached out to interview me for a feature on the Today show. And so it really just took off, and I leveraged that press and that media to double down on my own content. I took all of my writing onto LinkedIn in 2021, and it's been 4 years now. And now I help founders leverage their own expertise on the platform as well. A little bit more about me. I love to travel. I love having a remote business. I'm a very big health, wellness, mindfulness. So I've lived in Bali, Costa Rica, Mexico. Anytime you want to talk about health or holistic wellness or yoga or meditation, I'm your gal. So it's a bit more about me. But really why you're here is I help female founders to grow their businesses using LinkedIn. And I've worked with over 100 different businesses, everyone from fertility clinics, travel agents, certainly tech, certainly B2B. And there's just some of the success that I've seen them get. Inbound leads from LinkedIn, people reaching out to them, their calendars filling out as a result of using these exact strategies that I'm going to teach today. So before we jump into it, though, I love to just do a quick check-in. You can certainly chime in the chat. You can write this down on your own notebook for you to come back to at the end of this. But I would love to know, what is your biggest struggle that you come up against when you think about posting on LinkedIn, when you get that big feature and you're like, oh, where do I put it? What do I do with it? I'm curious if anything comes to mind that you want to share to just see if other people resonate. Consistency. It's a good one, Bree. Getting eyes on the media post. Sounding repetitive. Yes, the algorithm has changed quite a bit, Katarina. Losing motivation. I hear you. Okay. Hopefully I can shift that in the next 40 or so minutes. Cadence of posting. Oh, good one, Lauren. Okay. These are great. These are great. Anyone else? Oh, I'll speak on, if we have time, I'll speak on video. I have a lot I can say on that. Algorithm changes. Still figuring out the right place for your business. I love it. Honest. Okay, these are really great. Hopefully some of you resonated with the answers that came in. You're feeling less alone. But I don't want to leave you there. I want to leave us on a higher note. So what is one way that you want to feel about LinkedIn? If you could wake up tomorrow and have a totally different experience, how do you want to feel about LinkedIn? How do you want to be showing up? These are great. Strategic. Ooh, I love that answer. You're definitely in the right place. Thought leader. Oh, great. These are great. Thoughtful. Read, authentic. Super good. Okay. Relational, energized. Oh, I love it. Thank you all for sharing. So I saw some of these in the chat. You're definitely not alone. Some challenges feel that I hear a lot from founders are they're overwhelmed. They're not sure what to post. They feel uncomfortable talking about themselves or actually promoting their business, promoting their services. A lot of inconsistency, start, stop. Maybe they get a feature and then they don't keep up the momentum. Then I also hear a lot of I'm posting, but nothing's really happening. I don't know if people are reading it. People aren't reaching out. All super common. You're not alone in that. And I just want to give you a little permission slip. It's not you. We are living in tough times. There's social media burnout is at an all-time high. People don't want to be on screens anymore. I can't tell you how many founders I know that just are off social media. How do we reach them? So it actually takes a lot of intention to capture people's attention in 2025. Even myself, I don't want to be on screens more than I have to. So getting my attention is actually really hard. Maybe you relate. Also, we're just smarter these days. Like I said, I've been in the online business space since the end of 2019. What used to work in 2019 does not still work in 2025. We have evolved. Our desires, our needs have evolved. So much of our lives have evolved. It's a very constant evolution. So if you feel like it's just always something to keep up with, you're definitely not alone. It's hard. It's hard to keep up. Also, the economy, so much is in flux. Budgets have changed. People are much tighter with your money. So this is something we're going to talk about a lot today. You have to be really, really clear about de-risking someone's investment in you. So it has to be clear that I give people an ROI, I get people good results. It's a good investment to do business with me. So we're going to talk about that. So what is the answer? Reputation building content, strategic relationships that fuel your audience and content growth, and then proactive audience building that feels authentic and not spammy. I'm going to check the chat really quick. Yeah, yeah, totally. These are all spot on. Okay, so let's talk about content that converts. And yeah, let's get into it. So someone put in the chat, strategic, that's how you want to feel about LinkedIn. This section is for you. So there's typically 3 types of posts that a LinkedIn content strategy needs. And I'm going to talk about where PR fits into this. So the first one, a lot of times this is where the PR comes in, is the thought leadership and value posts. So LinkedIn is a very intellectual platform. It's a very smart platform. People think, they're very growth minded. They want to improve their businesses. They want to improve their careers. They want to improve as humans. So you want to play to that versus TikTok and Instagram. People go on there to be entertained. They're not necessarily looking to, get a promotion from LinkedIn, let's say. or from Instagram. So knowing that, you can really leverage, and LinkedIn is really the platform where a lot of my clients say, this is where I feel that I can really flex my expertise. I can be seen as a professional. I can really shine and compartmentalize this part of my life. We don't need to tell our whole life stories on LinkedIn, which I personally really like. So the thought leadership and value post, this looks like showcasing your expertise, sharing your PR wins, sharing a feature that you were in, and giving, the top takeaways, the highlights, the sound bites that you told the journalist. We're going to get into this next. Also, though, we are humans. We are humans. We do business with people that we like. We do need to have a sense of trust with our audiences. So it is strategic to talk about yourself, but in a intentional way. So I'm going to talk about next how to share your personal story on LinkedIn. And then lastly, I would say this is the piece of strategy that a lot of founders miss, is we also need to show social proof. So yes, I'm smart. Yes, I'm a good human. And when you hire me, you get results and your organization transforms, or you transform. So we're going to talk about this piece next or later. So when it comes to value posts, believe it or not, there's actually 5 ways that we can influence people's behavior. I know it's kind of creepy when you think about that, but as we go through this, you might recognize this in marketing or media, lots of places. And this may happen throughout the course of a feature throughout the course of a PR feature that you get as well. So there's actually 5 ways to psychologically trigger someone and influence them to action. And again, we want to do these authentically, and we want to do these on brand. So the first way is we encourage someone's dreams. By the way, I'm going to go in depth in all of these. Next is we justify their failures. We say, hey, it's not your fault. XYZ is really hard. I've already done a bit of it. Next is we help them get over their fears. So we say, hey, I see you. This is a really hard thing you're working through. This is how you get over that. Next is you confirm their suspicions. So you share, you feel like you're in their brain. You really understand what are the things that they're up against, and you confirm their suspicions. And then last is you throw rocks at the enemy. So you share the same nemesis or the same difficulty that they're against, and you take their side as well. So let me go into these in more detail. And like I said, think through the lens of your own business as you work through this. And I'm going to point out just real life marketing examples that you might recognize out there in the real world. So the first one, encourage their dreams. This one I love. I probably see this one the most often. If you think about it, we are in a little bit of a hope deficit these days. We have a lot going on. So when we can actually encourage possibility and inspiration and encourage people that they can have the things that they want. So you see I don't know who saw the Nike Super Bowl commercial, but it was so good. Nike is the fantastic example of this. This is like their whole brand essence. They're really, really good at encouraging anyone that they can be a confident athlete. I would say Apple does this one pretty well. You can be a backyard photographer with our phones. You can have things come to life. So encouraging people's dreams. This is a fun one. I have a friend who helps creatives specifically get paid their worth for their creativity. And she does this one a lot in her content. Well, let me show you some examples of how I do it too. So encouraging someone's dreams. I have too much business from LinkedIn that I no longer have time to spend on LinkedIn. And then I talk about that strategy. I also talk about in this top post, the worst feeling to start a business and to have to go back to corporate. You don't have to quit. Here's what you might be missing. So I'm encouraging people's dreams that they can continue to run their business, that they can log onto LinkedIn and, have lots of opportunity come in. So I would think about, what are your clients' dreams, aspirations, their hopes? How can you encourage that in your content? It's a really powerful trigger. Next is justify their failure. So, things, we don't always love to take responsibility for the things that we haven't accomplished or what we haven't done. So we can justify like, hey, it's actually really hard to do this thing. I see you. Here's how I can support you. So I see this a lot in health content or women's health content. You'll see a lot of things like, hey, it's okay. It's totally understandable that you don't understand fully how your body operates. You weren't taught this. Everything's been studied on, male bodies, or, this just wasn't education that was valuable to us. Or you'll see this a lot on the finance and the wellness space. So justifying why people might feel like they're behind, letting them know they're not behind, and then, speaking to what's possible instead. So this is a powerful one. Yeah, I see this a lot in health content. help them get over their fears. This one's a really powerful one too. So um, you'll see this a lot with, people leaving corporate and starting businesses. So, if you're afraid to replace your corporate income on just your skill set alone, here's how to make your first dollar. Don't worry about making $100,000. You'll see this one a lot. Um, I leverage this one a lot. My clients are afraid to share their stories and get personal on LinkedIn. So I create content around, okay, here's how to be personal and still authentic. So this is a good one. I saw a really great ad during the pandemic, actually. It was for an orthodontist, and it was a billboard, and I think it was in LA. And it was like a large face, and then it had a kid with a mask on it, and it said something like, "This is the best time to get braces is in a pandemic because your mouth is going to be masked anyway, so you would never know." And it was so brilliant of like, that's probably a huge hurdle is kids complain they don't want to get braces. So we're going to help you get over your fear. Think about the timing. Everyone's going to be wearing masks anyway. So this is a really fun one to play with, and it can really, really build empathy with your audience. So I love doing value content pieces on this one. Next is confirm their suspicions. This one might feel a little bit similar to help them get over their fears. I live in New York City, and I literally cannot get on the subway or I can't go anywhere without some sort of advertisement warning me against my data being stolen. So, so-and-so stealing your data, use our VPN instead. So they're speaking to the suspicion that I have that, yeah, everyone's stealing my data and I need to have a solution. So honestly, I do this one a lot with the algorithm. Like no, you're not crazy. The algorithm's changed. Here's how to stand out instead. Let me see what examples I did. Oh yeah, speaking to just the tough learning curve. Let me think about how I see this one done as well. You'll see this a lot with corporate content. Yeah, you're not crazy. Your company's not paying you more than a living wage to just get over inflation. So this can be powerful. Again, really empathy building that you're really inside their head and know what they're suspicious about, and then providing value and showing the opposite of it. And then last one, throw rocks at the enemy. Language is a little bit violent. I could probably use to adjust that. But you'll see this a lot with, I always think of the Barbie movie. The Barbie movie, that entire marketing campaign was just brilliantly done. It was really based on this premise against inequality, against, women not being able to do what they want or have the lives that they want. So I see this a lot. People throw rocks at corporate culture. People throw rocks at bad leaders or bad leadership. You obviously want to think through what's authentic for your brand, but I throw rocks at other social media sometimes. I throw rocks at like the tech bro content and for more authenticity. So let me go back to the slide that has them all laid out. So I recommend jotting these down, brainstorming these. These can be really powerful when you create content to the opposite. So helping them get rid of their fears, speaking to their suspicions, and helping relieve those, thinking about their failures and justifying them, and then giving them an alternative, encouraging their dreams. So I really like to take clients through this, and it can be a really interesting way to just brainstorm new content. All right, so now we're going to talk about personal posts. I talked about how it's important to also reveal who you are and be authentic. And a lot of times this can come through in PR as well. A lot of the features that I've been in certainly had a more personal lens and a more personal behind the scenes of my business. But I want to talk through the LinkedIn personal story trifecta because there is an art to talking about yourself on LinkedIn. Also, I'm going to check the chat for a second while you guys look at this. Okay, perfect. So you want to think through ideally, this is what works in my experience, is really what your clients value. This is going to be different for every business. So for example, if you're a lawyer, your clients may value competency, professionalism, ethics. Those are the big ones that come to mind. If you're a creative agency, though, your clients might value thinking outside the box, disruption, creative thinking. What else? Yeah, breaking the mold. For me, my clients really value resourcefulness. Again, their founders, resourcefulness, grit, resiliency. It takes a lot to start a business. So a lot of times my content comes through that lens. And then you also want to think through, what is your authentic story? Ideally, there's some of an overlap of that. And then I'm going to throw one more element into the mix, which is content that LinkedIn loves. So there's certain content that LinkedIn um, just content that suits the platform of LinkedIn. Remember, it's a job seeking, it's a professional, it's B2B. I'm not saying you need to squeeze yourself or change yourself to fit into that. I'm just saying there's certain content that's going to resonate more in a platform like LinkedIn versus a platform like TikTok. And then ideally, it's a little bit relatable, it's inspiring hope, something you want to be known for. And in the middle of that Venn diagram is highly engaged with content. So I want to talk about content that LinkedIn really likes, because it can just be helpful to leverage this and then find that intersection of what LinkedIn likes, what's your authentic story, and then what your clients value. So some example, and then I'll walk you through an example that I have. So some examples of content that LinkedIn likes these days is anything workplace culture. If you run a remote team, if you have a hybrid team, have you have you gotten in office again? Are people coming back to office? Anything regarding salaries, interviews, negotiating, advocating for yourself, standing up to leadership. Leadership is a really hot topic. I posted about this last week. I came in to teach for a company and a leader said such a phenomenal, inspiring thing. I wrote it into a story. LinkedIn really liked it. Let's see. Anything leaving a job to start your own business does really well on LinkedIn. People love that story. Getting laid off and what you turn that into. Interviews, which I'll talk about. Mental health of being a founder, business owner, of honestly being a human. If you've burnt out and reset priorities, startup and founder life, motherhood, parenthood, working family, very hot topic right now, how everyone's making it work. So those can be fun to leverage and think about, kind of like a puzzle. Like, okay, that's typically what the environment of LinkedIn is talking about. Is there an intersection of my authentic story and an intersection of what my clients value? So this is an example all the way on the right. I didn't plan it this way, but it actually totally worked out and it kind of inspired this teaching. But when I was in my 20s, I moved from New York to LA to do a very technical interview, and I worked in fintech. And I told the story. It was a really hard interview. I had to advocate for myself. Long story short, I, stood up for myself, got the job, it all worked out. And then I talked about, you've got to have grit, resilience, and you should hire based on experience and character versus credentials. And LinkedIn really loved it. A, because I was talking about a job interview. B, I was telling my authentic story. And then I tied it all together at the end, talking about grit, resilience, resourcefulness. And if you're hiring for a team, if you're hiring for a candidate, what to look for. Obviously, LinkedIn really liked it. So that was kind of a perfect trifecta. But when I tell clients personal stories on LinkedIn, ideally there's some strategy behind it. But most importantly, I recommend thinking about what your clients value, because that's first and foremost what's I found to be most important. Okay, now we're going to talk about social proof posts. So we talked about the thought leadership, the value, how to influence people's behavior. We talked about personal content. Now, how do we get people to reach out and inquire about your services and want to hire you from LinkedIn posts? So I'm a big fan of actually telling the story and showing the transformation that the work that my clients do. So these are my own examples, but here's some best practices that I recommend, is thinking about what are the results that your clients typically want. Do they want more business? Do they want more confidence? Do they want better team cohesion? Do they want better managers? Thinking about what is the after result that they want, and then telling a bit of the story. So you can see some of the examples that I've done here. One of our mom founder clients who has 2 little ones at home has been increasing her income 5K per month with her consulting business as a result of strategy. So leading with the after. I work with a lot of working parents. You can also, I've done an example of this too. If you haven't yet gotten results for a client, but you just signed on someone new and it's totally your ideal client, you can also talk through kind of the beginning stages of how they thought through hiring you. So this bottom one, an Ivy League consultant with 15 years of experience, just hired me. This is what she was up against. This is what I'm going to recommend. Stay tuned for the next 6 weeks. So you can get a sense of who's an ideal fit and what kind of clients that you work with. And then, like I said, I love telling them in a story. So these are just some of the examples. But if I were you, I would sit down and brainstorm what are transformations that I've gotten clients recently? What are some really standout milestones or moments? What of my strategies helped to improve in a business? Really brainstorming those. Obviously, you want to protect privacy, anonymity, confidentiality. You want it to be broad enough that no one would find out. But also sometimes I ask my clients, I just got off the phone with a client. She got 8 new clients over the course of working together. And I was like, can I write a post about this? She was like, totally. So ask them if it's something that you feel like needs permission. But I would say in general, this is the piece of strategy that I see missing a lot. So you want to think through, yes, it's absolutely important to be showcasing you're smart, good at what you do, know your stuff. Of course, it's great to be sharing your story, but also share the value that you're providing and the transformation that you're providing when people hire you as well. Oh, I've got more examples. Okay, so that was a lot. I talked a lot about content. We still have 2 sections left. Does anyone have any questions? Let me check the chat. When you say link, okay. So good question, Eileen. So when I say LinkedIn likes it, I mean it fits in with the environment of the platform. So LinkedIn won't necessarily promote it, although I will say when I post about leadership or team dynamics or more career type content through my own personal stories, they do tend to get more reach on the algorithm. So they can be an opportunity to reach a wider net of people and bring in more followers that you can then educate with your more niche content. So LinkedIn might not necessarily promote it themselves, but I also have had clients post content that was trending, and then it gets picked up by LinkedIn News too. Okay, these are great questions. I'm going to keep us moving and then certainly save time at the end as well. So now posting content is great, and that's just one piece of the puzzle. So LinkedIn is actually a really, really social platform, believe it or not. It really rewards conversations that are happening, collaborations that are happening. It's really, it's just really helpful to have friends and to have colleagues and industry professionals that you're networking with. So let's talk about building strategic relationships. So a strategy that I like to think through is thinking about who does what you do, but just slightly different. So when it comes to networking and building on LinkedIn, ideally there's someone that is already active as well and has a really similar audience to you that you can either collaborate with, become, industry friends with, comment on each other's content. I'll give an example. I had a client come to me after she took an email course. So she took an email course to build a newsletter, and then she wanted to use LinkedIn to get more subscribers for her newsletter. So I thought, wow, that's really smart. That woman who teaches the email course would probably be a really strategic person for me to network with. And then when I have clients who have a big LinkedIn presence but want more of an email strategy, they should go, I don't know anything about email, they should go to her for email. So she was the perfect person for me to build this tangential service provider relationship with. So I reached out, I said, hey, so-and-so reached out, they loved your course, would love to connect so I can learn more about your services. I have a lot of people that want email help, I don't do email. And so we engage on each other's content, we support each other. We're now just friends at this point, which is a lot of fun. But you want to think through, so for example, SEO consultants. A lot of times people, after they do a big brand refresh, they want to now invest in SEO. So someone in branding, if you're an SEO person, would probably be a fantastic person to build a LinkedIn relationship with. Maybe they're already in Dreamers and Doers. I bet you anything, your tangential service people are already in this community. So it can be helpful to think this through. Another example is coaches. So leadership coaches and then health coaches. Because a lot of times really high achieving leaders struggle with burnout. So there's all sorts of possibilities for this. But when you get this right, I just finished with a client earlier. She does college admissions. And so she's found like the Gen Z audience and is making friends with them. And now she's getting into their communities. And she's like, it's really working well. And I was like, great, love that. So think through who are your tangential service providers. Next is, you'll all love this, leveraging offline communities. So I love Circle, I love communities, and it's such a disservice to be in these amazing groups and not also be nurturing those relationships online. So if you're involved in communities, definitely like all of you at this workshop, this signals to me that, hey, you want to be active on LinkedIn, you want to be leveraging more of your press, and you want to be, more visible. Apps, like if you haven't yet, dropped your LinkedIn in the chat, connect with each other, take these conversations in these workshops at the, like I was at the speed networking event last week, and it was actually one of you was here that I was matched with. So I loved that. And now we connected on LinkedIn and we chat a little bit in the DMs. And so use this community to also help amplify the work that you're doing on LinkedIn. So these are some other communities that I like and have been involved with, but don't overlook this amazing resource that you have here to also help just boost what you're doing on LinkedIn as well. And then next, I love doing this, and takes a little bit more strategy and intention, but you also, so if you want to be known for, let's say I actually just worked with a neurodivergent workplace consultant. And so we did this. And so they wanted to find the other people that were creating content about neurodivergence in the workplace. So we certainly did some research. We tried to find them on LinkedIn, but what you can also do is set a Google alert. So set a Google alert for companies that raise 300, some companies that raise a Series A and there's a press announcement about it, or a Google alert for press that comes out about workplace blank, 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 whatever it is for you. That way you can A, see who's out there creating in the same space as you, and then B, find them on LinkedIn and potentially become, again, strategic partners, friends on LinkedIn, people that you collaborate with. When you have a very specific niche, it can sometimes be hard to find these people. So I'm a big fan of setting Google alerts to just find access to these people and then finding them on LinkedIn. So there was a lot there. Curious if I'll check the chat if any questions came up here. Love it, Taryn. Yeah, drop your LinkedIn in there. I see the comment about video. I haven't forgotten it. I do have a lot to say about that. I'm going to save that to the end. Okay, we're doing good on time. So this is the last section. Now I want to talk about lead generation. So we've posted content. We've got people that we're engaging with that are supporting our content. What are some other actions that we can take to either bring more people in, expand our audience, and just get more momentum? So the first thing I like to say is it's so worth just being proactive. I don't know who's already doing this, but actually reaching out to people that follow you, reaching out to people that engage and comment on your content if you don't know them yet. If there's anything I can leave you with, just the mindset of being proactive, reaching out to people that you like their content. They don't even have to be potential leads, just actually shooting your shot, sending a DM saying, hey, I really liked that post, or hey, I saw you recently followed me. I wanted to personally say hello. Hey, thanks so much for leaving in content. I went and did this last week. I hadn't done it in like a month, and I just reached out to everyone that had showed up on my content. I have like 4 conversations set up with people because they're like, yeah, I've been seeing it, blah, blah, blah. So-and-so sent me your profile. So don't be afraid to actually talk to your audience as it's growing, as they're coming in. You'd probably be so shocked at how many people, want to talk to you, want to engage with you, want to have a conversation with you. Love all the LinkedIn links going in. Love it, guys. So if there's anything I can leave you with, don't be afraid to be proactive and actually talk to your own audience. You'll probably learn a lot. You'll probably get a lot of content ideas, and there's some leads in there too. Next is when you do reach out, I'm a really big fan, this is my personal recommendation, of actually just leading with what you do and how you help. So let's say you have a new follower, Jane Smith follows you. You then see that, send her a connection request and say, hi, Jane, I'm a B2B SaaS company helping small to mid-sized business. This is a super boring example. Don't use this. Let me just use what I use. So I say, hi, I'm Molly. I saw you in my recent list of followers. I help female founders grow their businesses using LinkedIn. Should you be looking for support? I'm leading with what I do. I'm leading with how I help. And you would be shocked at how many people just say, wow, thank you so much for telling me. I love what you do. Can you check in with me next quarter? Or it's so clear. Thank you for, being clear about what you do. This is what I do. If you ever hear of anyone needing me. So it's just a really good way to just let people know, informing them of your work, inviting them to explore more if they want to. And at the very least, they might reply back and share what they do too. So that's a tactic that I found to work really well. And then last but not least, systematizing and being consistent. So there's actually a set number of connection requests that you can send every single week. I don't know if anyone's using Sales Navigator, but I love Sales Navigator. You can build specific lead lists. So there's actually, I'm giving you all a lot of homework. Now I'm giving you a strategy to create content, telling you to make all these new friends on LinkedIn. Now I'm telling you to build all these systems for growing your audience. But if there's any action that I can recommend is, like I said, don't be afraid to proactively expand and reach out to people. So whether that's 15 minutes a week, you send 10 new connection requests, whether that's an hour a week and you max out the 100, whether you are building yourself lists in Sales Navigator. I could answer tons of questions on Sales Navigator if people have them. I'm a huge fan of the tech. So being consistent and creating systems that are actually going to work with you. I do things on different days of the week. So I don't post on Mondays and Fridays. Mondays and Fridays, I typically respond to my DMs, send connection requests, respond to comments. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I actually post comments and comment on my LinkedIn friends content. But I trust you to think through a system that will work with you so that you can stay consistent. But don't overlook the power of actually, taking actions and pulling levers that are in your control to actually get people to come in and grow your own audience that way, in addition to content. So that was a lot there. I've given you so much homework and so much to do, but this is a recap of this. We're actually doing so great on time. I love this. I got through this super efficiently. So I'm going to bring us back to our very first question, talk a little bit more about my work, and then we have a ton of time for questions, which I love. So I would love to hear, how has your challenge transformed? Has it morphed? Do you feel like you have more to-dos now? Do you feel like you have some clarity on the strategy? Do you have some clarity on which piece you want to focus on? Where are you still feeling stuck? Like I said, there's a ton to get through. I did my best to jam in as much as I could. And then where do you feel like some support could be helpful or have more questions on? Because that's where we're going to go next. What is Sales Navigator? Okay, these are great.
Hi,
All right.
Molly.
Hi.
Sorry, is this a good time for questions?
Yeah, give me 2 more slides and then we've got plenty of time, but I will get to you first. Okay, so to wrap us all up and tie it all together, you just got clarity on a bunch of things in this process of LinkedIn. Content, relationship building, lead gen. And clarity is super, super valuable. If you don't know which piece of the puzzle is missing, it's really hard to be the leader of your business. And it's really hard to know the direction to take for your own business development. So I'm hoping this was a powerful last 45 minutes. You should feel more clarity on what you're missing in your content strategy or what to be focusing more on, whether that's the thought leadership post, the personal story post, or the social proof post. Hopefully you feel more confident networking, who to be reaching out to, who to be building deeper relationships with, and then also what strategies to be taking to do more audience growth and lead gen. And there's so much more. This is literally the tip of the iceberg. I went abnormally fast through that. Consistently getting business definitely does take strategy, intention, time, investment, energy, and especially when it comes to applying it to your exact business, your exact offers, and your life experience. So this is typically the steps that I see to correlate. A, the type of the post, which we talked about. B, then we've got to write the rest of the post in a compelling way and communicate all of your brilliant ideas into a digestible format for someone on LinkedIn to consume. Then we've got to get them to take action. So they see the post, then we need them to reach out to you and actually inquire about your services. Then they're going to visit your profile. The profile is a whole different thing that we did not get into today, all the different sections. And then we want to use LinkedIn to nurture them as a lead and get them closer to coming towards you. And so what this does is this takes content creation time from 10 hours like it does for some of my clients who always feel overwhelmed writing their posts to maybe 1 hour, maybe 40 minutes, because they actually have a strategy and they get that time back to do whatever they want, spend more time with their family, not be online. And lastly, really putting this all together in a system that you stay accountable to, that consistently works for you and gets you an ROI. So how does this all work? I have a 6-week program where I go through steps 2 through 4, where you learn this framework and how to apply it towards your business. It involves live strategy calls, a full profile rework, and line-by-line editing of your posts to make them most impactful. And it's not something you just don't go through and execute on. It's very custom for your business with a lot of built-in accountability. So if you're curious to learn more about how I specifically work with founders one-on-one, I'm going to drop a link in the chat, and I think they're also going to send it out, but I'll put it in here so that you guys have it. And if there's any questions or you just want to chat, feel free to grab a time there, and I'm happy to make time for us to talk about LinkedIn. But that's all I have now. So Callie, did you want to jump in with your question? And then I'm going to go through the chat and see the other ones that came in.
Yeah, thank you so much for your workshop. Super helpful. Yeah, my question is for people like me who has two LinkedIn accounts, one for personal, one for business. And I'm curious, from your perspective, what would be a great way to tailor your content for these two accounts? And the second question is about, obviously I had a lot more followers on my personal accounts. Do you think it make more sense for me to continue to cultivate that account to convert leads and generate discussions, or should I actually shift more energy and resources to my business account?
Yeah, great question. I'm so glad you asked. I had a feeling it would come up. So this is my personal opinion and what I've seen with clients. Let me ask, how many followers does your company account have?
A little bit over 660.
60. Okay, great. So my recommendation is using your personal account to create your own content and posting from there until your business account gets to about 5,000 followers. So once your business account actually has just more followers, because LinkedIn doesn't publish business content, they publish founder-led content. So I actually don't recommend spending much time at all on the business account until it reaches about 5,000 followers. So for now, you can either just repost content from your business page that you've posted from your personal page and strategically tag your the business page in the content from your founder page. But for now, you can actually just not pay a lot of attention to the business page. You'll get more traction coming from your personal page, in my experience.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to answer Eileen, and there's a comment about video. So I'd love to hear more about how to leverage PR wins, such as articles I've published or have been published about me in other sites. What's the best way to post about these? Is there other ways for me to leverage this cover? Definitely, Eileen. So my tip for PR or features is turn it into one of those value posts. So certainly LinkedIn loves to celebrate, and you can post, hey, I've been featured in this thing. That's awesome. I also love recapping what you spoke about. So telling a little bit of a story. So the journalist, 3 months ago, a journalist reached out to me about XYZ. We had a conversation about this. This is what I shared about, and this is what I recommend to anyone who's in this position reading. So turning it into more of a thought leadership piece based on the content of what the interview was and giving some value in the post itself. That can be a really great way to A, get celebrated, but also B, give some value in the post itself. And then you could also give 2 of the 3 and then say for the last one, read the full article, and then you can put a link to the article. But I think the biggest mistake I see people make is they just post the link to the press, or they just like post a photo of the press. I think it can be really valuable to give a little bit more in the caption for people that are scrolling and reading right there on LinkedIn. And then also sharing the story of the press. So I understand that a lot of press comes right from dreamers and doers. So I've been in this community. I've been involved in this community. This opportunity came up. I submitted and spoke to the journalist about this, or this is the information that I provided to them. Like, don't be afraid to tell a little bit of the story of the press as well, is my personal opinion. I've done that and have seen success from that. But anytime you get it, post it, share it, let that continue to build momentum. I think it's always relevant to share with your audience when you've been featured in something. Let me know if that helps. Feel free to post a follow-up if you have more questions. Great. There was a question about video content. I've tested it quite a bit for myself, and I've only really ever had one video do above average. All of the videos that I've posted do more or less the same as my text content. So video is really great for deepening the relationship with your existing audience. So for example, if you have a really strong network and a lot of people in your audience, and you're like, why aren't these converting yet? Why aren't I getting business from this? You might need to deepen your connection or provide more value to the existing audience, and then that can convert them. But in my experience and from other LinkedIn people that I've spoken to, video is not great for expanding your audience. So if you're trying to get new people in, my experience is it's I've only had one video go really, really viral, and I don't even think they all even followed me. I think they just watched it in that feed. So I'm not doing a ton with video. I have a friend that does a lot with video, but she doesn't get any business from it. She just gets a tons of views from it. So I'm not the video expert when it comes to LinkedIn, but I will say I'm not doing a ton of it. I don't think it's bad, but I wouldn't stop doing text, thought leadership, client result, storytelling posts as well. Okay. My question, all right, Katerina, who is the neurodiver? Send me a connection request and I can send you their info. When sharing a PR win, like a D&D feature. Okay, I answered that one. Great. You mentioned not to use the business page at first. So when we post, yes, tag the business page. My clients typically don't understand there are multiple possibilities. I'm trying to, they don't, Morgan, I'm reading your question here. I would say you have good instinct on what you like and what you're drawn towards and what feels authentic to you. So I would say trust that instinct. I'm also a big fan of testing and getting data that way. Spend most of my time presenting options. So maybe it could be you create various content on those different options. I agree. I don't love content either that says do X. I think the biggest thing I want to say is trust your instinct. I think you know what resonates and what feels authentic to you. But feel free to send me a DM on that question. So I was trying to make sense of that quickly. How do you balance messaging as the founder of two brands? That is a good question. Is there any sort of overlap? I think I have come across this, clients of multiple businesses. Is there any sort of overlap or common theme between the two? Would be my first suggestion. And the other is also don't be afraid to just explicitly tell people, hey, I have two different businesses. This is business one, this is business two, this is what this business does, this is what this business does. And then accept community as a through line. And then just be strategic. So Monday, Tuesday, I talk about this business. Wednesday, Thursday, I talk about this business. Different things are going to resonate with different people. But I think if you're really clear and you have some strategy around which you're talking about when, I don't think it's impossible. I have had clients do it, but just having the right expectations and calls to and knowing what you want people to do for either. It's a very good question. How are you adjusting to the LinkedIn algorithm changes? Yeah, it's a great question. Here's what I'm seeing. Personal story content is so important. Like anyone can create this how-to content. If there was ever a time to be sharing your story, digging deep, finding lessons, being courageous, it would be now. Personal story content is really doing well. I think a lot of us as a generalization is just, there's a lot going on. I think we're really seeking connection. So personal content is doing really well. And then engagement. I just wrapped with a client this morning and she was like, all this engagement I'm doing is really making a big difference. I think LinkedIn is really rewarding people that are active. I know it's a really annoying answer because I don't want to be online all the time either, but being really strategic with who you're engaging with and spending time having conversations is really making a difference. That's what I'm seeing. And then content that's just unique, different, have point of views that you have that are unique to you and your business that AI can't generate also cuts through the noise and does well. Okay, I get a lot of eyeballs and engagement on my advocacy posts, but when I guest on a podcast, I'm curious how you're posting it. I typically don't recommend putting links in a post, so links in the comments. I'd be curious, Taryn, if you're doing any sort of recap about it. I would also,
So I
yeah,
do a recap.
oh,
So
interesting.
what I normally do is like they have trailers for the pods, or for the leadership talk or whatever it is. And so I'll post that and like I just did one last week where I kind of told the story about being a lifelong learner, right? And I got that from my grandfather. So I kind of told this really personal story about that. then dropped just one link to the interview on YouTube and just shared the trailer and just kind of like really made it try to make a personal story and sharing like where I got my love of learning from.
Interesting. And you're saying that's not getting traction?
I mean, I do a trans advocacy post. I get 20,000 impressions, right? Hundreds of engagements. I do a marketing post. I've been in marketing and design for 28 years, right? I do a post on what I actually do for money, and it's like,
Totally. You bring up a really good point, which I did not talk about yet. So, your least engaged with content is actually a really important part of the strategy. So there's always going to be content that brings a lot of eyes in and gets a lot of traction. That's great because it's clearly resonating and hitting with a wide audience. And when you get more niche and more uniquely personal instead of like a broader lesson, that's only going to resonate with a certain pocket of people. So especially when you market, those client results posts, the social proof do the worst of all of that content. And they're still really important to do. They're still important to do. People will reach out. They're going to feel awkward liking it and engaging on it or commenting on it, but they're still really important for that niche of people. So if there's anything I can say, metrics are great, but don't let that stop you from actually promoting your services, even though that doesn't get as much traction. So anytime I propose sales, terribly. So that's the worst of it. And people reach out. The better I've gotten at it, people will reach out. So I don't know if that helps for now, but just know that every single post is never going to get, every single post can't get that 20,000 reach. And the promotional stuff just will always not do as well, which is annoying.
now it's kind of helpful. Yeah. I mean, can you talk about scheduling post? So,
Yeah.
like, because I feel like I've heard a lot of stuff where it's like, hey, to manage your book of work, schedule post, right? Get them like ready to go and have them for a couple days, kind of like a content calendar. And, but when I do a schedule post, it's like right in the toilet. So it's like
Are you using an external scheduler or LinkedIn
I'm
itself?
using LinkedIn's internal scheduler.
So weird. Um, I mean,
What are your thoughts on it? I mean, have you seen success with it?
I I typically post my posts natively live
Okay.
sometimes because I write them in the morning. But I do really like to schedule posts, and I can't say that I've seen a huge difference. Um, I also just want to say like we can't be chained to LinkedIn. So I want to give you permission to
Yeah.
schedule posts. And is it that when you schedule posts, you're also not engaging or warming up the audience feed before?
Yeah, I don't pre-warm it up before a schedule. So
Yeah.
like sometimes the schedule post happens and then I'm on it.
Yeah.
No, that's good. That's a good tip. Thanks.
Totally. And also like we're human, uh, I just want to give you like it's okay to schedule posts and maybe you come back later and engage. I think it's been a while since I've scheduled a post, but it really shouldn't hurt reach that much. That's um interesting to hear. I've done plenty of it. It's been a little while. I haven't been that organized with my content these days, but interesting. It could be the engagement piece. Good questions. Sorry, that's not the answer you were maybe hoping for, but all right. I think we've got a minute or two left. I rec Eileen, I recommend posting based on where your audience is. I've lived like you saw, I've lived all over the world. I typically found that Eastern Standard Time, first thing in the morning, works the best. So I post at any time between 8:15 and like 9 a.m. Eastern time, but test it for yourself to get that data. And Eastern Standard Time typically I found to work best. Warming up means leaving comments and actually having conversations and content before posting your post. Okay, I think I've got most of them. These are great questions. If I feel free to jump in the last 2 minutes, if anyone has anything. Sales Navigator is LinkedIn's CRM tool. It's expensive. It's about $100 a month, but if you want to do a lot of lead generation, proactive outbounding, I definitely recommend it. Okay, I think I'm going to turn it back to you guys, D&D.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Molly. That was just a wonderful use of our time. I appreciate you investing in us like that and everybody for attending. We will be including, you can maybe pop it back in one more time, Molly, your scheduling link. It will be in the description box when we upload this onto YouTube. So if you missed it, it will be available then. We're also going to drop our events submission form if you would like to host an event like this, and also feedback on this one. We truly value your time and your insights, so we're always here for that. But a big thank you to Molly and everyone else for attending, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great rest of your week and your day.